the way this works is that we're just talking about LA County right now, but basically, because we do have, there's shelter scouts in South San Diego area, but in LA County, basically these are the shelters that we scout total, but LA we do city and county shelters. And in the city, do you guys see the you don't see the do you see how many that we have, how many shelters there are in each category?
No, we can't see the number.
Yeah, you just see the
Yeah, close that
yeah, let
sidebar
me close
down.
it. There we go.
There we go.
All right. Sorry about it. So, all right, we have 6 city shelters, 7 county shelters, and I see a typo. Oh my God. All right. Anyway, so we have those are the ones that in LA that we scout. Riverside is basically on call. You know, sometimes people will send me alerts or whatever. We can pull from that shelter. We do have pull rights, but really we pretty much concentrate on the city and the county shelters in LA. So you could tell I didn't practice this, guys. So sorry.
Chris, do you know if we poll, do we have better relationships with some shelters versus others? Because, I mean, I'm new to shelter polling and scouting, but I know that we have some volunteers that are also volunteers at certain shelters. And I'm wondering if that influences, you know, which shelters we regularly pull from more than others.
Yeah, that's a good question. So in the county, I didn't list these, but the county, like we have we've pulled from Lancaster, we've pulled from Palmdale. Both of those, we have personal relationships with them. County, I'm not real impressed with the way the county's run. They've given us dogs that have been questionable. So in terms of being a retriever, but we do pull from them. And then what else is in county? Carson, which is real close to me. We pulled from there. They usually get a good selection of animals. Baldwin Hills and Downey are 2 that we really don't pull from. A lot of it is because where they're located, and they're not easy to work with. They really don't respond very well. Okay. Most of these shelter scouts are either calling or sending emails. So, you know, we're really kind of relying on that kind of communication. And Downey and Baldwin Hills, for some reason, don't like to respond very well. The city shelters, the city runs pretty good and they're very responsive. City, we've pulled pretty much everywhere. It's north, south LA. There's East Valley, which of course we pulled a few because we have a couple volunteers that also volunteer at the shelter. West Valley we've pulled, and where's the other one? Oh, Castaic. Is that county?
Yeah, Castaic is county.
Castaic is county. Palmdale's county. What am I missing?
West LA?
Which one?
West LA?
West LA, we don't pull from very much. I have in the past only because they don't seem to have a problem getting their dogs out. So there's not a big need there. I'm not sure if it's
Apple Valley, maybe?
Pardon me?
Apple Valley, maybe would be another county shelter.
So Apple Valley is a separate shelter system. And actually we don't have pull rights from there, although I do have the paperwork that we could get pull rights. And Apple Valley is a high, pardon me?
Sorry, trying to get Apple Valley as a rough shelter I've fostered for a different rescue for them before, and they have a lot of very sick dogs there.
Yeah, Apple Valley is I would say it's kind of a high kill, because they really get a lot of animals out there, and it's so far out there. But it's funny you ask that about, because I think it was his best friends actually had a specific grants for that shelter because they wanted to get dogs out of there as much as they could. They do get Goldens, they get Labs, they get some good looking dogs. They have some good networking people out there for Apple Valley, so I think a lot of them do get out that way. We just haven't really pursued Apple Valley just because we don't have the volunteer out that way to go get there. It's a long way. Hesperia is another one. It's just a long way, and we don't have the volunteers that can do transport. But we just did one with Rovers. Oh God, I think that dog was in Hesperia. That's another shelter that I got paperwork that we could apply for. And they pulled a dog. It was a Golden that we were helping them with because, and we actually worked with another volunteer from a different rescue. So we had 3 rescues involved in this one dog that had a broken leg, and we brought it in, and it was able to go to a vet that I know really well out in San Dimas. So it kind of all worked out. Some things like that work out well, and we just kind of try and help each other out. We don't have pull rights, but it's easy nowadays to get pull rights because shelters are just trying to get their dogs out as fast as they can. So they're expediting paperwork to if we really want to pull a dog from a certain shelter. So anyway, so we really concentrate on the city and the county shelter. So how we scout. So how the process works is that we have volunteers that scout and monitor the websites. So we don't send people in initially to go into a shelter to walk a shelter. It's really, really difficult. And that's why if you've stepped up to evaluate dogs, we really appreciate it because it's really hard, we understand, to go into a shelter. And a lot of times we're not going to send you into the shelter until we've all really looked at this dog and tried to approve from what we've read and seen on paper. Because there will be times where you'll go in and not be able to pull a dog. And that's hard. Even the shelter scouts, it's hard when we have them scouting and we have to turn down a dog. It's really hard, especially when you're, you start throwing dogs out like to the board and, can we pull this one and this one? Let's get the information about them. And then the board says, we don't have a place for that dog. So, but we also try and network. So if we don't have a place for the dog and we think it needs to be pulled, we'll try and network with other rescues. So anyway, so we have scouts, people that actually go onto the websites. The websites will list all the dogs. And you have to go into the lost dog page because they may not be available yet to adopt. But that's what you look at when they first come in. And the county does do by breed. You can sort by breed. The city does not. Although they just started, I see that they're starting to go back to breeding dogs. They used to just sit mixed breed. They're starting to breed them again where they're saying, this is a Labrador Retriever mix. They used to, a couple of years ago, they were just saying all mixed breeds because it really probably all these dogs are mixed breeds, but they were realizing people weren't really looking at dogs then. They were just, it's hard to look at 500 dogs at one time. So they started breeding the dogs. So you can go in and search that way. Sorry, hold on a minute. There we go. So our scouts monitor the websites, and it's only 2 websites, which is nice, the county and the city. And they do break it down by shelter, by location. But, the best thing is you only really need 1 or 2 scouts because they can cover all of the shelters through that 2 websites. Also, we get notifications of dogs from shelter alerts. So alerts are actual emails that go probably to Jessica now. I was getting all of them, but and also the shelter scouts get them. They are red listed dogs or yellow listed dogs. So dogs that need medical attention, dogs that are in danger of being euthanized will be sent out on list and emailed to each rescue in hopes that somebody can help these dogs. So we get those as well. And let me tell you, they're probably, and Jessica, I haven't been on them for a while. You can tell us about this, but we would get probably, I'd say 10 emails a day.
At least.
At least on, and we're talking listed dogs, sometimes in an individual dog, but most of the times it's a list of dogs. So it's really another way, and most of them obviously are not dogs that we can pull, but it is another way for us to be alerted to a dog that's at risk. And then another way is social media. So social media, and this is something you guys can look at too, is that there are groups on Facebook and Instagram, like Friends of East Valley, Friends of West Valley. Each LA Animal Services has its own account, Facebook, Instagram. So what you go on those accounts, and they also will show dogs via video, which is really nice. If you see a dog that go, oh my God, that's a dog we should pull. Oh, look at Percy. Anyway, if you see a dog that we should pull through the social media, what's nice is that video is already done for us. So we get to see a video of the dog, and actually that helps for us to see if that's a dog that is a dog that we would bring into the rescue. Is it a lab mix? How's its behavior? Sometimes we get videos with other dogs or just with people, and that really is a good eye opener for us. I've actually seen a few dogs through social media rather than websites, and then alert our shelter scouts, hey, can you go check out this dog? I just saw it, and see what the status is of it. Let's go. Let's see. Any questions?
Well, you said that the shelter alerts are emailed directly. So if somebody on this panel isn't already signed up for that, is that something that we would give them the link to sign up for?
Yeah, you can easily, or they can contact, give them the email address of where you get them, which is probably each shelter, each location has its own email list. So they can go in and get on the list. And then they will get those emails automatically. So you can either, ask for certain locations, emails, or you can ask for a general one. But if you guys are interested in getting those, but let me just warn you, it's going to be a lot of daily emails. So you could go by location, which is maybe for some of you who are only going to evaluate certain shelters, because of your location, you could get on that shelter's email list and get alerts. One of the things too, if you haven't familiarize yourselves with the websites, that will give you an idea in terms of maneuvering around it and how to check on dogs and stuff like that. Our scouts are doing that, but that will also give you an idea when they send you, like, here's a dog we want to scout, this is its ID number, and you guys also can go into the websites and check them out as well and see if there's any changes. Because some of these dogs, like we were scouting a dog last 2 days from West Valley, and a 13-year-old dog that was a lab mix, gorgeous dog, and owners turned him in, and we were looking at him. So we were getting board vote to see if we can bring him in. And the next minute, like last night, I just heard that he got adopted. So I was like, that's wonderful. So we don't have to worry about that boy. He's a senior boy. We were, but luckily he got adopted, and we don't have to worry about him. So, okay, so here's who we scout. If you're not familiar with the retriever breeds, there's 6 of them. Starting clockwise at the top on the left, there's a curly coat retriever, Labrador retrievers at the top, the golden, of course, and then we do flat coat. What's he? He's a Chesapeake. This one, the middle one, is a Chesapeake, and then the last one is a Nova Scotia duck toller. We rarely see duck tollers. I've seen them, but we rarely see them. They're interesting breeds. So we say they're retrievers, but they're real working dogs. They're almost like Aussies almost, but they're interesting. Rarely see flat coats. If you see a flat coat classified that, it's probably a border collie mix, I would think, or a lab mix. Flat coats just aren't being bred out here, and it's rare to see them. And curly coats too. in Chesapeake. We rarely see those. Those are mostly on the East Coast, but we do get them sometimes. But mostly it's lab mixes and Goldens. So I think everybody's familiar with those breeds. Okay, let's see. So what would you guys be looking for? So the way it's going to work is for you'll be contacted by either the shelter scout, the dog rep, or a board member. Probably a dog rep is a board member anyway. So you'll be contacted by somebody like that and given the information about a dog that we're interested in. So we have already probably hopefully gotten all the information from the shelter already regarding the medical and behavioral notes on that dog, when it's available, its weight. These are the things that the shelter can tell us via paper. So what we need usually sometimes, and I'll show you some examples of some oops, is really eyes on a dog, because pictures from the website really don't do these dogs justice. And also, it's really hard to tell their temperaments and personality, obviously. So what we're looking for you to do is when you visit a shelter, if we ask you to go in and look at this dog, we want probably actual videos that you can take or photos of what you can take, not what the shelter provides. Some of this information here on this list will be things we probably know already, but also it'll give you an idea, information on, how long this dog has been in the shelter, for instance. Did it just come by? Was it an owner surrender? Those will give you kind of hints in terms of what to be looking for. If it's an owner surrender, why was it surrendered by the owner? That gives you some information about its temperament sometimes. With strays, obviously, we have no idea what their history is or anything. And sometimes the owner surrenders, we don't know either. But luckily, some of these shelters are making the owners fill out paperwork that gives them information about the dog. The reason a lot of these people bring their dogs in as strays is because there's some shelters require a fee, a relinquishment fee. So if an owner is struggling financially or whatever, that's going to put them off for telling them, turning in their dog and they'd rather say it's a stray so they don't have to pay the fee. So that happens. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard for us to know, but a lot of times the shelter people can kind of, they eyeball it, they kind of get it. So, so sometimes when we send you in, the dog's not available to adopt yet. So dogs, when they hit the shelter, if they don't identify an owner, they have to be held for 4 days. That gives the owner that amount of time to find their dog. If they're chipped and they've identified an owner, that means they will try and contact the owner via phone call. If they can't reach him via phone call, then they send a letter. So those dogs usually will stay in the shelter a lot longer. Sometimes, I think I've seen a dog in minimal 10 days if the owner's been identified. But sometimes, especially during the summer when people are traveling, they'll give them extra time. Sometimes the owners say, "Oh, give me a little more time," so they'll hold the dog. So that's what can happen too, but you're usually going in before the dog's available. And so just know that dog could be adopted out. You're going to do a lot of work and that dog might be adopted out to the public, which is good. But, sometimes it's frustrating for shelter scouts and evaluators because you're going through a lot of work and we don't get the dog. And I have to tell you that probably happens 90% of the time. So that's why this job is tough, because, your rewards are going to be few and far between, but it's really, really important. And this is really how we get these dogs into the shelter or into the rescue. Medical and behavioral information, that's something that we request. We get through the shelters. And for dog evaluators, we would probably, the shelter scout or the dog rep will forward you this information. So you'll have an idea too of what you're looking at. You'll have an idea of some of the behavioral notes that have been noted already by the shelter, and the medical stuff. Medical stuff, if it's not anything extra, it's usually just vaccines and, dogs been dewormed. A lot of that, it gets automatically done immediately when the dog hits the shelter. The one thing that now shelters are doing are play groups, which is really, really nice because now we get to see dogs mixing in with other dogs. Before, this was rare that they did that, but they've now decided that play groups are great for dogs in terms of their enrichment. And it also gives you an idea of how to place these dogs. Are they dog friendly? Can they go with little dogs or big dogs? What's their play style? Are they really rambunctious? Or are they kind of shy? So those are the kind of things if they've dog tested them, it's wonderful to know because that also helps us know where we're going to place them into a foster. So all of these information you're gathering is going to help us know where we're going to place these dogs. We don't pull dogs unless we have a foster available. So we need to, usually what you're doing, all of that work is done simultaneously. We're looking for, if we've looked at a dog and say we were really interested in it, we're also thinking about fosters at that time. We may not know much about the dog yet, but we're going to okay, who's open? Who do we have? Who's close? That kind of stuff. So all of this stuff is kind of doing simultaneously. And it's a lot of work by a lot of people, like I said, and it can get frustrating because 90% of the time we're not going to bring in this dog. But this is how it works. This is how we can get dogs out. So I think some shelters will not put a dog in a play group if they're not available yet. So if a dog is within it just came in and it's within its 4 days of hold, some shelters will not put that dog into a play group yet until it's available. I've known some shelters to do that, and a lot of times they will do that if we request it. So, especially big dogs, which is kind of our specialty because big dogs are the ones that are staying in shelters, not the little dogs. So there's a big push to get these big dogs out. Another really important information that we need is leash manners. Most of the dogs probably don't know how to walk on leash, but what happens with us trying to place a dog, if a dog is reactive to other dogs or especially these big dogs, if they're going to jump and bark and lunge, we need to know that because not only with where we're going to put it as a foster, but also the training that's going to be involved in terms of placing that dog. Those dogs are hard to place. It can be done. It takes training, and we are happy to do that training. It's just something that we need to know prior, or it's helpful to know. How's that? A lot of times we may not know. A lot of times they're walking a dog. You'll see maybe a tech will come and walk the dog with you to the yard. That's when you should be observing how that dog behaves when it's walking by the shelters or the kennels of other dogs. It's not 100% predictability because it's a stressful environment. It's super stressful for these dogs, and other dogs are going to be barking. And I always say, hey, if a dog barks at one dog, they're totally entitled to bark at that dog back, So some dogs just scour, some dogs pull really hard. Realize too, if they're pulling really hard, it could be because they've been in the kennel for 2 days straight, right? They haven't been out. So they're just pulling to get to the yard. So, but it does give us some information, at least. It may not be their true behavior, but it also gives us information on how we're going to deal with them when they first get out of the shelter. And last, like I said, is mostly temperament. Things you're going to look at is, are they social, shy, or scared? My 3 S's, I always say, because some dogs, and sometimes you may not be able to get them out of the kennel. They'll let you walk the kennels, for instance. So you're going to go by kennels, and so is that dog in the back of its cubby, which is dogs have a separate cubby that they can go back in and sleep, and then they have a run area that they can come out of. Are they back in there? Can you coax them out? Are they shy? Are they shaking? Are they scared? Or are they social and come right up to you and just kind of look at you? A lot of them will be barking at you, and you just kind of like, let's see if we can settle them down. Don't stick your hands in there, obviously. A lot of times I will take treats to throw at them. I always crouch down on my, at least squat a little bit and present my side to them. So I'm not face on with them. That kind of intimidates dogs. So if you're sideways to a dog and you're scratched down, you're not bigger than them, they're not looking up at you, that will give them a little safer feeling for you. So those, you want to see, will they come up to you? Are they really interested in you? Are they leaning against the kennel door, wanting some attention? Are they just excited and happy, which is a really nice thing to see for a dog in a kennel, because you're like, they're dealing with that stress pretty well. But like I said, most dogs it can be very stressful. So it's going to be hard to figure out their true temperament, but whatever information you can gather, a lot of it's just observing behavior. You're not going to tell me this dog is shy. I really kind of want you to tell me what you observed and why. So why would you think that dog is shy? Well, it's staying in the back of the kennel. It's not really coming up to me, So if you concentrate on describing behavior, that gives you a better idea rather than labeling a dog. Also, most of these dogs are kenneled with other dogs right now. It's so crowded in there. They're doubling and tripling up dogs. So that's another thing when you look at these dogs, which amazes me that dogs can be, strange dogs they don't know each other and they're put in a kennel with each other and they're being fed, remember, in that kennel together. That to me is amazing, because if you're familiar with any, especially Goldens who love food, basically any dog, to feed them together like that in a stressful environment and them not getting into a fight is amazing to me. So that's kind of the things that you're going to see. And that's kind of the information that we're looking for. Any questions? We're doing good? Okay, so when you get into a shelter, this is what we're probably going to send you. And these are kind of the specific examples of what we've seen. So on the left is the kennel card, and that's that picture there is probably the same picture that you're seeing on the website.
Yeah.
The kennel card basically is what they're breeding the dog at, what the dog is, what they expect the age is it a stray? This dog, for instance, who is this? This was, this was Sloan.
Yeah.
So Sloan was evidence police, as you see there. She's a good example. She had to stay in the shelter for how long was she in there? She came in January or February, March, April, May, like 4 months. They kept her for a long time, along with 5 other dogs. She's the one that was in the house in Van Nuys, I think, that were 2 dogs were killed, and she wasn't stabbed, but her buddy was stabbed. So she saw these dogs get attacked and killed. So she had to stay in the shelter for an extra time because they had the gentleman that did all this in jail. So she was considered evidence in police, along with the 4 or 5 other dogs. So anyway, so this is the information you'll see initially, and hopefully this is kind of what we look at, and then we get additional information. But you see Sloan on this other side. Let's see if I can.
Very different.
Yeah, this is, oops, sorry. Let's go back. There we go. Okay. Yeah, very different, very happy, beautiful dog. But it's hard to see her ears in that grainy black and white picture. I can see that they're long, luckily, but most of the times you can't see that, especially if they're looking up and their ears are back. You can see she's kind of narrow. She's not broad-headed like most pit bull mixes will be. And believe me, when I scout shelters and I see dogs and I'm looking at a lot of pit bulls and I'm almost geared to saying, oh, that's a lab mix. That's a lab mix because I want to help them. So it is hard to decide sometimes. And you see that they've made her a mixed breed as well. I think she's got white on her chest is probably why they did that. But as you see, they're not the best pictures to really see. So when you go into a shelter, we're looking at, you're not going to get the picture on the right, obviously, because that's after she's been in a home for a while. But other pictures that are going to be a little more clearer to give us an idea of what we're looking at. Let's see. Here's another good example. So this is a really good example because, and Joanne, you should recognize this one.
I do.
And I'm not gonna bag on you, but so on the left, that one is, I think that's a recent dog we were looking at. What's the date on? No, April 11th. Oh, that's is it Bananas? Who is that? Emma?
Yeah,
can't- Might have been Emma. I can't remember which dog it is. Anyway, so that's the kennel card. That looks pretty labby to me. The coloring is right. Ears are hard to decide. Eyes are dark. They've actually labeled her Labrador Retriever. Is she 9 years old? Most of the times that's a guess. So we don't know because she was a stray. She has no microchip, so she's a stray. So they're guessing on her age. A lot of dogs that come in and they're guessing age, they look at their teeth, but you know, if a dog has been outside and not been well taken care of, they can look older than they are. But the personnel are pretty savvy. They can give you a good idea, but not until you see their kind of behavior do you really kind of get to guess their age a little bit better. The middle one, that's another. She's actually, that one is really small actually, and you won't be able to tell that, right? Because she looks like a full-grown dog. She actually looks pregnant almost.
Yeah.
That's a hard one for us to see if you just sent us a picture like that. But obviously, if you went in, you would get different pictures. I think that dog's in ISO, so you actually wouldn't get to see that picture. And our dog on the right. So the shelter picture and the at-home picture with the foster. So that dog is Sunny. What dog was that? What was the name? Otto. Otto is that dog's name. We looked at that dog on the shelter photo and go, absolutely, that's a dog we would pull. Contacted the shelter. They said, yes, it's a Labrador mix. We're like, you're sure? Like, absolutely. And so this dog was in Lancaster. So we are making a big, that's a long haul to Lancaster to pull it up. I'm sorry, what was that? Anybody want to, no comment? Okay. So, we wanted to make sure that was a dog we wanted to pull. We knew it was a nice dog, at least, we got a lot of behavioral notes on it, but we don't go out to Lancaster usually just to check on a dog. We do have some volunteers that will do it, but we're really trying for Lancaster. We're trying to say, if we go into that shelter, we're pulling the dog. So we were pretty secure in pulling the dog. We had a foster lined up, thank goodness. And, on the way home, I forgot to check and didn't call the volunteer that picked up the dog. And then she goes, oh, nice dog. It's a great dog. I go, oh, good, riding well in the car. I go, lovely. And I said, look, as long as its ears don't stick up, we're good. And she sent me this picture and I went, what? Why would the shelter give you this dog? And this dog is like 40, what do you think, Joanne? 40 pounds?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, not a big dog, but
Not
that's
a huge dog.
yeah, a very good example of a oops pull, but actually it was a really nice dog. We've done oops pulls, not a big deal if we can find a home for it.
And thankfully the foster fell in love.
Yes, and we will find a home for these dogs, but we really kind of want to avoid this because, and look, I'm not against rescuing these type of dogs, and the shelter, the rescue wants to help as many dogs as we can. But the problem is a lot of people, when they're coming to our website, they're looking for a certain dog, a breed. So when we have dogs that look like this, they're probably not interested. So that limits their visibility and limits their chances of getting adopted. So that's the only real big issue we have with bringing in dogs like this. But like I said, really nice dog, got adopted and is in a great home now. So we're happy with that. Let's see. Okay. What are we doing next? So when you go, and now there's some more tidbits here. Here's some kind of things that you'll see. I always bring treats. Even when I'm meeting a dog for the first time, I'm stocked full of cheese usually. Very high value treat to throw at them. And that because you do want to see if you can interact with them a little bit. So to get them forward if they're not coming forward. That will help. Sometimes if they're highly stressed, they won't take anything. When you go into the shelter, you're going to go to the front desk and say, hey, I'm from so-and-so rescue, and I'm interested in meeting a couple dogs or this dog. And you'll give them their ID number and then say, can someone show me where they're at or take me, or can someone bring out the dog? I'm really interested in interacting with this dog a little bit. If it's able to come out of the shelter or the kennel. Sometimes they say, we don't have anybody take it out of the kennel, but you can go to the kennel straight and check out the dog. So as you see the two dogs in the kennels, I think those pictures were taken in Palmdale, I think, or Lancaster. I can't remember. Anyway, so you're either going to go to the kennel, well, you're probably actually going to go to the kennel and then also try and get them, see if a volunteer can help you take them out into the yard to interact with them a little bit. That's when you watch if they're bringing them out, watch their behavior when they pull them out on a leash, and then evaluate them for the 3 S's. Are they going to approach you? I always tell people, don't approach the dog, let them come to you, be real relaxed. You don't have to force an interaction, because that is going to tell us a lot too, I think.
Excuse me.
Let's see.
Say handsome.
There we go.
Say hello.
Here's a dog. This is a very shy dog. The black one, by the way. I don't know why they're all playing. Hold on a minute. Oops. There we go. Yeah, the black one,
Excuse me.
very, very shy, scared
Say
dog.
handsome. Say hello. Oh, look how beautiful you are. You're such a good boy. Oh, you're such a good boy. Oh, thank you. Oh, you're a gentle boy. Oh, thank you so much for my gentle kisses. Oh, I mean, come on.
So that is the person that's interacting with that dog she actually is a volunteer at East Valley. She also volunteers with us. So she's really dog savvy. I would never say get your face in front of a dog. Okay. But she's super dog savvy. And this dog was really shy. And this is actually the same dog. And look, it looks a little different color there, right? He looked a little chocolate there, but he's really good. And you can see he is stressed. Hopefully you guys are picking that up. He's scared, stressed, and wondering what the hell he's doing there. But you see, she was able to get him to come to her. And then here.
Got something to say? Huh?
See, that dog won't even look at her. Oops, dang it, I don't know why it keeps doing that, but that gives you an idea of things that you're going to be probably observing and things that we want to see. Any questions yet? No questions?
Quick technical point. So
Yeah.
no appointments are needed at any shelters for you to go and see a dog.
You can make an appointment, but you really can just go in their opening hours. A lot of times, I'm trying to think if I've ever given heads up. You can give a heads up just to let you know that each shelter has a rescue coordinator. Sometimes they're not working that day, but And there's probably super busy anyway. They're not going to be somebody that's going to take you right to the dog. It can happen. I know I've been out to a couple shelters and been escorted around because they'll want to show me numerous dogs, dogs that I haven't even considered. But that's a good thing because you're going to see dogs that really need help maybe and see if you can help them. But just to warn you too, guys, this is a tough job. And, you know, if it's not for you, it's fine. It's not easy to go into a shelter, like I said, and leave without a dog. But this is probably what you're going to be doing. Although also you could also be the ones that go in and look at the dog and provide the information to us while you're there. And we can say, you know what, pull that dog. And you might be the one actually taking that dog. But obviously at that point, we'll have a place where it should go, where you can take it. You know, will be a lot of communication between you and the dog rep or the board member will be going on. You're not going to make that decision alone. So, and you're not going to have to deal with where am I going to take this dog? But it is helpful to go in and to a shelter, look at a dog and be able to get it out. It's very nice. It's very rewarding. But most of the times you're going to leave the shelter without the dog. And it's hard. You want to take them all. I know.
And Chris, one more question. So is it safe to assume that volunteers will be there most of the day, or are there better times of the day to visit, you know, assuming that the volunteers can sort of facilitate us arriving? Is it, you know, mornings, afternoons? It's obviously hot in the afternoons.
Usually I've just gone random times. I don't think there is a best time, probably earlier in the morning on the weekdays, obviously. City shelters are closed on Mondays. County shelters, Joanne, do you remember?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. It seems like they might be closed on Mondays too.
Mondays or Sunday? No, it must be Monday. I can't remember. So those are the days you can't go in. Although if I've called before and they've let rescue in. So that can happen if we really want to get a dog out and we're pretty confident, they'll let you in on a Monday. And that is a make an appointment type thing. But most of the times it's just random, you know. Volunteer staff there are probably some that go, they have their set schedule of going, but a lot of them come and go whenever they can. I know like Lynn and Emily, two of our volunteers that actually volunteer at the shelter at East Valley. I know when they go in, but a lot of times too, they're so great. Megan too at West Valley. I'll say, hey, have you seen this dog? I'll go in and look at it. I'll go get video for it, which is really nice. So they're going in sometimes extra times, the other times that they're not volunteering. So, but they're volunteers, so they get really good access to these dogs. And they're very, they've been volunteering a long time and they have a lot of hours behind them. So the staff really trust them. So I think it's just random. I really can't answer that. And it should be around your schedule, right? You guys, this is all about your schedule and when you can do it. And if you can't, you know, somebody else will get somebody else to do it, or we just wait, you know. Okay. So, as I was saying, this is kind of the flow of how pulling a dog works. The Shelter Scout is usually looking at the websites, or we're getting an alert and we want to check out a dog. And the Shelter Scout usually is the one, or the dog rep is the one that contacts the coordinator from each location and asks for medical and behavioral notes on the dog. The website will tell you a lot of information in terms of when the dog's available, how much it weighs, when it came in, is it a stray, is it on stray weight, you know, that kind of information. but the coordinators can give you a lot more detailed information, because when a dog first hits the shelter, they're given, usually they go right into medical and given a full exam unless they're really touchy, but they're dewormed, they're vaccinated, they're not chipped yet, but they're given all their vaccinations, deworming, flea treatment, and that's immediately before they hit the general population. So in that exam, you'll see they'll rate the dog's behavior. Is it skittish? Is it scared? Is it stressed? They have different numbers for that. There's also, what the health of basically the dog is. They'll be evaluating that is what they're really looking at. But a lot of times when they first come to the shelter, if the vet is looking like, I can't touch this dog, somewhere I'm not going to do the full medical because he's too nervous. Which is nice that they do that now, because you don't want a dog to snap or bite. So they're being very conservative and waiting. So with that information goes to the board. So the board looks at the paperwork, the picture, and all board members vote on, is this a dog we consider to pull in? Usually the vote is no. Well, if it's a yes, then it's like, well, do we have a foster available? Or do you think we can get a foster for this dog? If we don't have any fosters available, sometimes we tell our shelter scouts, just hold tight. Don't be looking. Because like I said, it's even hard for a shelter scout to be looking at all these dogs and not be able to pull them in. So, but if the board votes, yes, this looks like a dog, we'll start working. We think we can get a foster for this dog. Then we'll go to you and say, hey, it'd be really helpful to get some more temperament information on this dog. So that's when it comes to you, and we're going to give you all the information on the dog, and you can go in and visit whenever you can. Usually a lot of this happens quickly. So, we want to try and get the dog out as soon as possible. But like I said, we're all volunteers, and it's, we know everybody has lives, so you don't have to drop everything to go look at a dog. But obviously, the sooner we look at a dog, the sooner we can bring it in. Sometimes too, there's other rescues looking at a certain dog, and it happens quite a bit where another rescue has gone in and pulled the dog while we're looking at it too and evaluating it. Very frustrating, but just remember that the dog is getting out of the shelter. So, that's a happy thing. So and then and sometimes, like I said, even when you're there, you might be texting photos, pictures to the dog rep or the board member. You might be saying, yeah, this is the dog, blah, blah, blah. I think, and we're going to rely on your expertise. I think initially we're going to give you, we're not going to say you're able to judge a dog immediately, but we're going to rely on you guys in terms of saying, this is a really nice dog, or, I think this is going to make a nice dog if the board has approved the dog. So we're going to rely on you to tell us that, so we can say, all right, good. Hopefully we can pull this dog soon, or even you guys, maybe we can arrange to get that dog pulled. So immediately, but that'll be depending on your schedule. It's not like you have to say, yeah, it's a great dog, we should pull it, I'm here to do that. There's a lot of coordination we know that takes place, needing where to take the dog, where to put it. So you don't have to worry about that. Oh, I'm not available to do that. A lot of times we just send out general emails, and we have people that can do that. The pull people for shelters, there's different people that we're allowed to use to pull from a shelter. We do have, and Jessica, you have to, I don't know if I gave you my pull number when you pulled.
I used your poll number, yes.
We also have, and I just saw, because I had her send me the list of volunteers that are pull rights. We actually have a general rescue number, which is really amazing, because they used to not give that out. They used to, you only get 7 people that are allowed to pull from shelters. And that means all the city shelters, right? Or all the county. And that means that person had to go in and get the dog. But now they're being a little more flexible because of the overcrowding, I think. So they've given us a general pull number for the rescue. So we can do all the paperwork via online or via, emailing back and forth so that the pull volunteer doesn't have to be the one that's on the list. As long as we're arranging everything and we have the pull number, and we say you can release the dog to that person. So we can do it that way as well. But there are certain people right now that have county and city shelter rights to pull. And they're the ones that actually have to pick up the dog because they have to show ID. But like I said, I think I've really not had a problem with us getting a dog out because we're sending in a different person. Especially if they're talking to myself or somebody else that's on the list, it's really not a problem. So I think that's.
Chris, our question, after we've seen a dog, will we get instructions about who to contact on the board or the dog rep? I mean, how do we know what to do next?
Yeah, you're probably initially contacted by that person to say, go check out
Okay.
that person. So that's who you're going to be communicating with. And then that person relays it to the board. So you probably won't, that's probably the only person. And it could be even the shelter scout, but probably not. It's probably going to be directly with the dog rep or the board member. Our dog reps right now, Jessica, Sandy, Barbara Rankin, Carol Spees. And our dog reps don't necessarily have to be in that area. Like Carol was, who was she repping recently that wasn't in her area? Oh, well, Barbara Rankin was repping Doc.
Mm.
And he was up here in our area. So the dog rep doesn't necessarily have to be in the same area as the dog. But so, because we're trying to kind of allocate dogs and make everybody's work efforts the same. So, and whoever has time to take on another dog. But those are the 4 people. And all 4 of those people are on the board. So it's a double duty thing. It's easy. Let's see here. Okay, so I'll go through these. So I'm going to print all these out, but these are the contacts for each shelter, each location. The city and the county have different ones, and it changes sometimes. So I always copy on this on the city shelters. I'm always copying Veronica because she's in charge of all of them. But I'm going to I'll put, well, I don't know, we could probably put this list. This is also on the shelter websites. You have to kind of search though, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but I will probably print all this out or email it to everybody. Let's see.
Do you always carbon copy Veronica?
Yeah. Yeah. Because if one of these people is you'll see the days that they work,
Oh,
if they're not in, then they'll have somebody cover for them or Veronica will forward it to them.
okay.
And
So
these are the rescue coordinators at the shelters?
Yes. Yeah, and here's the general, this is for county, you'll see the general emails here.
Okay.
You can do those, and I've gotten responses from that. It's just nice sometimes it's faster, like Lancaster, Joshua's really good about emailing back or having somebody else email you back.
And Chris, your emails are always so kind because you always sort of say, thank you for the work you do. I really appreciate what you're doing for the dogs. Like I love that you tell the people working at the shelters and the rest that, listen, we love you. You're doing good work. We appreciate it.
Yeah, especially if you've been into shelters enough. It's so hard. I'm amazed that those people do what they do. And I know shelter, especially city, have been getting bad raps, but
Yeah.
most of the people you deal with are really nice. And even our volunteers who know some of the texts that aren't, I mean, I think they get really hardened because of what they see. but it's a tough job, you know, and they're there because they love animals. So I always try and remember that. And if it was me in that position, you know, I would appreciate that. Also, I also like to do is share when we updates to them. I'll send them when the dog gets adopted, I send them the pictures and the update and say, hey, thank you so much. Like Leah just got adopted and I sent East Valley, I sent them all here. Look, I want you to see how great this dog is and what a great job you did. So they're very appreciative of that too. But yeah, it's a tough job.
Yeah.
All right. That's basically it. I think hopefully I covered everything. If not, you know, ask questions, email. It's totally fine. I know it's pretty daunting to run into a shelter, but like I said, most everybody's very helpful. It's probably busy there, so you probably should count on spending some time there just because it's going to take a while for the volunteers to get around to you or the, you know, person that you needs to help you. So know that you're not going to be running in and out unless you're just looking at a dog, you know, through the kennel doors. Sometimes too, you can just, I've done this in South, especially if I know the dog's in general population, I'll just say, hey, where's this dog located? And it's really sometimes really hard to find the location because the way they situated the number, it's weird the way they number their kennels. But I'll just go look at myself and start looking and see, is this a dog? And you'll start passing kennels. And you're like, is that one that we should pull? So that's another way you guys could be scouting as well if you're personally there. So
Chris, I have a question.
yeah.
Do you recommend that we identify ourselves for our initial visit or any subsequent visit? Do we need to do that, or is it just so busy and hectic there that they wouldn't even know the difference of someone walking around?
I think, especially if you're just going to one shelter, you should introduce yourself and actually say, hey, can I meet the rescue coordinator? So Lee Platt, who also was doing a lot of our shelter scouting, and she still does. When she started, she actually, God bless her, went to every shelter. She was living in Topanga, went to every shelter and introduced herself. And because a lot of it is personal relationship, and that will get you additional information and sometimes additional care. So it's great to start up a personal relationship with that person because that means
I would think so. Yeah.
yeah, it's and that, you know, there's no downside to that really. If you know, it's hard, like Lee went to all the shelters, so I was amazed that she was able to do that and really did get good relationships and started emailing. And some, like I said, are really busy, but most of these people, they're just trying to get dogs out. So they want to do as much as they can and work with you as much as they can as well. So, yeah, so I think I'm pretty sure this list is current because I got it off of their website, although I know they have changes all the time. But a lot of times you might go in and say, hey, is so-and-so here? And they're like, oh, they're changed jobs or whatever. And then you just say, oh, well, I need the rescue coordinator. City, they call them New Hope coordinators. That's what the city classifies them. But usually you just say I'm with a rescue and would like to, you know, meet so-and-so or meet who's ever managing the communications with rescues. And usually they'll take some time and visit with you. A lot of times too, if you want to call and make arrangements to go on a tour, like, can you show me around? You know, they'll do that as well, which is what Lee did. And it gives you a good appreciation for what they do, really.
Chris, the rescue coordinators at these facilities are paid employees?
I'm sorry.
The rescue coordinators, we're going to be dealing with Agora. Is that rescue coordinator there an employee of the county?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
volunteer? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're definitely employees. And I don't know, Joanne, you've gone to Agora before, right?
I don't think I've been out to Agora. I've been to Palmdale, Lancaster, and Castaic.
I think it's a small, nice shelter. But I don't think we've pulled from there before because they don't, I'm trying to think if they've,
Lee's had dogs that she's been tracking that she's encouraged them to move to Agora because they've got a much better chance of being adopted out of Agora. So
yeah, that's especially, yeah. So that's definitely, Castaic is pretty good too, I think, about getting dogs out. The hardest ones to get dogs out are probably Lancaster. I mean, that they adopt dogs out. We can get dogs out anywhere, obviously, but if we're following a dog that's in Agora, a lot of times it probably gets adopted. South LA, they don't have a big chance of getting adopted out of there. So if we're going over there, we can probably pull a dog easily. Lancaster, Palmdale, I mean, the places that are hard to reach. Downey and Baldwin Hills, usually those dogs get out too. And I think it's just the concentration of where they're at. But and West, like I said, West LA, I don't think the only time I ever remember pulling from West LA was a litter that we had to actually go in and talk them into giving us. And that was with another rescue. So we're like, you can't leave a litter in the shelter. But nowadays, that's happening a lot because there's a lot of mama dogs out there with puppies that are coming in. So, and you just pray they can make it without disease. So, but yeah, so Agora like is small and, but it's, like I said, if we can get a relationship going, a lot of times they will contact you sometimes when the dog comes in and know that this is what we rescue. And especially if it's a medical dog too, and they need medical treatment for them, they'll contact you directly. You can say, give me a call if you need help with a dog. And if you're waiting or need a good SAM to come in, let us know. We'll definitely consider those dogs. And it kind of gives you a heads up, which is really nice. So.
And is the plan that we would sort of geographically design this so that, you know, depending on where our shelter evaluators are, they would kind of, you know, take care of certain shelters? Or are we going to do like an email group to all shelter evaluators and put it out and see who grabs it?
No, I think everybody has kind of signed up for certain shelters.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Although, you know, if someone's on vacation or not available, you know, I would definitely, and a lot of times too, you could do just volunteer email, but you can ask somebody else, hey, can you go look? Like I know Brad Blasek, for instance, they'll go out to Lancaster sometimes. They'll go to Palmdale, even though it's a haul. So, you know, I think some people are willing to go wherever, but I think like Jim and Eleanor are thinking Agora is close to them. So that's the one that they can, you know, evaluate easily. Joanne is in Castaic, is a good one near her. Although Joanne goes to Lancaster for us. So, yeah. And there's, you know, East Valley and West Valley, it's Van Nuys and, what town is East? East, is it
West Valley, Chatsworth.
Chatsworth? There you
Yeah,
go.
and I'm close to those.
Yeah, yeah. And then Harbor, well, the county, I know Kim and Jan Garvey, they're down in Long Beach, so they're close to that one. I'm close to South. So we really want, you know, we don't want you to have to go out of your way. So we're going to try and probably start contacting the person that's closest to that one and have asked that they evaluate dogs from that shelter. So,
Great.
any other questions? When do you want to start? No, just kidding. So, I think right now we're just we're on hold right now to get Maisie settled. Just to give you kind of idea how the board and rescue works in terms of bringing dogs in. We have a certain number of dog reps and we don't want to overwhelm dog reps because it's a lot of work. So we're trying to make sure that people can handle the load. So right now we have couple people on vacation. So to bring a dog in is really tough right now, because to manage that dog, you need somebody that's going to be there to start it off right away. So we're probably gonna hold on scouting, although we're still scouting, but it's basically, okay, can we have somebody manage that dog? Do we have a foster available? That's where we start before we even call you in. So if you start looking at websites now and you say, oh, why aren't we looking at that dog or that dog? We might be, but just to let you know, a lot of times we're on a holding pattern so we can manage the load. We're a foster-based organization. We don't have a facility, so we can't park a dog somewhere easily. So that's why we always have to juggle a lot of things. And a lot of times, like I said, we do a lot of things simultaneously. So we're working behind the scenes a lot. A lot of people are working on things. Any other questions? I think that's all.
Not for me.
Not from you, Jackie, are you sure?
I think I got my 4 or 5 questions all taken care of. Thank you. Quiet
I have a
day for me.
Oh, I have a question, sorry.
Good.
So based on the fact that this is an evaluation, but also matched with having a good foster home kind of happening consistently or together, right? In
Right.
terms of look-see and then a proper match. Shall we wait to go see a location or evaluate some potential dogs to bring out? Wait for you to contact us?
We will contact you first and give you information on a dog to go look at. So you're not going to go in blindly to look at a dog. So you're not scouting the websites, right? Because when we do that, the board has to approve first if we can consider that dog, right? So we've got a lot of information first about this dog that we're considering. And with that consideration, that's when the wheels start turning and like, okay, let's get an evaluator in there. Let's look for a foster home. All that's going on together. So you're not going to have to blindly go in and just start looking at dogs. We're going to give you a specific dog usually to look for.
Makes sense. Okay.
And the information that you bring us from the evaluation really, really helps with us determining a foster, if we have a foster that would be right. So the evaluation technically comes before we decide on a foster if we've got questions about the dog.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Maisie when we first brought Maisie, oh, I'm muted, right? What's going on? No, I'm not.
No, I can hear you.
So when we first brought Maisie in, she wasn't sick. Of course, after we pull her, we find out that the shelter, did they close their doors? No more accepting because they got URIs going through the shelter, upper respiratory infections. So we pull her and put her in a foster home with another dog. And she starts coughing. So that means we scrambled and we had to put her somewhere else. So when you have a dog with a URI, we have to have a place with no other dog because we don't want to risk, a volunteer's dog getting sick. Usually most of our fosters, and I don't know, Jackie, if this is probably something I just thought about that I don't know if hopefully we mentioned that our fosters all their dogs should be totally vaccinated. They need Bordetella on board. They need influenza on board. They need those upper respiratory infection vaccinations. I don't normally, like I said, I don't give my dogs Bordetella because they don't go to grooming and they don't go to dog parks. They're not in kennel situations. I don't board them. So I don't give them Bordetella, but if I foster, they're getting it. They're getting those vaccinations to keep them safe. Because if you're bringing a dog from the shelter, we never know. We think they're fine, and then a couple days later they start exhibiting some signs of illness. So that means we scrambled and had to move Maisie, and scrambling's never fun. And Jackie thank you for all that you do. We know there's a lot of work involved. It's a lot of phone calls and a lot of, like, Maisie right now is heading to boarding. She's going to the vet for a couple days to get clear so we can move her into a home with another dog because she's ready. I think she's fine right now, but we just want to be sure. We don't want to risk a resident dog getting sick. So Kim Harrison, who's on here, right, Kim?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Percy is such a trial. I'm like, no sick dogs near Percy. He can't
Yeah.
handle it.
Right. He is immune challenged, right? So we know specifically, and even I don't want to stress that dog out either. You're amazing and so thankful. And you know what? I've got to take a call real fast. So
Okay, I can jump in just quickly and just say
hello,
that
Chris.
it goes without saying that sick dogs present a bigger challenge because to put a sick dog in a home, even with a vaccinated resident dog is not ideal, which means that we're left with this very small group of reliable no pet fosters. We don't have very many homes that don't have, dogs. Most people who foster have at least one dog. So those sorts of things can come about, we don't plan for them, but that's when we really lean on the homes that we have that don't have other pets, because we really basically need to put them in an isolation situation without any other dogs around. So, a dog that is very sick with some sort of infectious problem is going to be hard for us to place, period. It happens as it did with Maisie, and we scrambled, and we were very lucky. A brand new foster who had only literally just signed papers stepped in like in a pinch, and she's had Maisie for 4 weeks. So, it does work out, and we do, pull rabbits out of hats occasionally, but the illness thing is different to an injury, obviously. So those are the sorts of filters that are very important to us when we're considering a dog out of the shelter and what sort of a foster home we could have ready to go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys for taking your time this morning with us, and I really appreciate it. And like I said, this is a tough job, and really appreciate that you guys have stepped up to help. Hopefully we can get you in there and start looking at doggies, and be rewarded with pulling that dog out of a shelter. Also, one of the important things too, I said, if you are a dog person that pulls a dog from the shelter, it's always good to have somebody else with you so you can get video, because video, dog story is very important for our social media, and for not only to get the dog adopted but also for us to raise money. When a dog has a story and you can show that from where this dog came from, that really helps people get vested and helps us actually just in the end pull more dogs. So save more dogs. All right.
Thank you, Chris, so much.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate taking the time.
Super helpful. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Everybody.
Bye.